Presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, this is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. I am Ebony SsALI. Happy Friday. It is Memorial Day weekend. It is. So let me first say to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country, we appreciate you. We thank you for the families that carry that burden forward. We appreciate you and honor you this weekend. So if you have a service member that has given the ultimate sacrifice, again, we salute you this weekend and commemorate that. So on that note, Outreach Community Health Centers will be closed on Monday to commemorate the Memorial Day holiday, but reopening on Tuesday. And we got a lot going on, y'all. We were just in here chatting before the show. There's life is lifing. The things are happening. And to stay positive through all that is a challenge, but we're going to rise to it. Lots going on at Outreach Community Health Centers this month and into next month. So, first up, if you have not marked your calendar, you got about a month to get right. We are hosting the dinner detective or the detective dinner presented by Outreach Community Health Centers on Thursday, June 26th at the Hyatt Regency. It will be like a whodunit if you are a nerd like myself. It's giving Clue vibes. So who did it? What did they use? And how did we get here? So a night of mystery, intrigue, philanthropy that's happening on Thursday, June 26th. If you're interested in tickets, you can go to our website, ochc-milw.org, to get tickets or to sign up for sponsorships. I'm excited about this event because we are highlighting 3 healthcare heroes. So we have Dr. Renee Suttle Robinson, living legend, Dr. Renee Suttle Robinson, who I believe is still in Grenada, depending on your emphasis on the right syllable. She is down there assisting with podiatry and those who have amputations. So she's down there doing the good work. So we're going to honor her for that work. We are also honoring Dr. Carla Wright and Dr. Enid Trotman. So come out, celebrate those, we call them living legends, celebrities in our city, but those who have dedicated their lives to the betterment. July 27th, Men's Health 5K. Make sure that you're there, register. If you want to run with our team too, that's the other piece. Let me know. Give me a call, 414-727-6320, if you're interested in connecting with us and running with our team. And then finally, we have the Community Health and Resource Fair on August 9th from 10 a.m. to 3. And that will be at our campus at 220 West Capitol Drive. So the things are happening. Okay. Get your vitamins, get your rest in, because we're going hard all summer. We're just getting started. And if you see me out and about this summer at a health fair near you, make sure you shout me out. Like, come over, say, hey, we cousins anyway. So, I mean, you might as well come over and say hello. But Outreach will be out all summer. Come in and check in on us. Y'all, we're closing out Mental Health Awareness Month. Why does this feel like the longest, like, beginning half of the year that we've ever experienced? It feels like, yeah, we're in for it. So I'm curious. Today we're talking mental health. We are talking wellness. We are talking what it is going to take to get us through the second half of the year. So if we look at it like a basketball game, if we look at it like a football game, we're coming up on halftime. Talk back to me. Tell me, are we winning right now? Is there so much winning? How are we feeling right now? It's halftime. The coach has called a timeout. We're huddled. How are we feeling?
Well,
precisely.
I think we need 3 more timeouts with all this going on.
We need the timeouts. We need some more power.
Yeah.
We're not getting it locally, internationally. But how you feeling about the year?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, so far, it's been good. It's been a lot of stuff that if you allow it to weigh you down, it will.
Come on.
So it's just, seeing everything that's happening, that's in the news, and life is life.
Life is life.
You still manage to, as my pastor would say, everything is figure outable.
True story.
Yeah,
True story.
like everything is figure
So,
outable.
but how are you specifically figuring it out?
Well, I take time to myself. I go to the gym.
That's right. He be in the gym getting
Yeah,
swole, Debo getting
hey,
swole.
call me Buff Bagwell out here, man. Get my buffness on.
I can't. I
Buff
can't.
Bagwell. Nah, but no, just taking some time to spend with myself,
Yeah.
mind, body, and
Yeah.
soul. That's the
Yeah.
whole key. That's the trifecta.
That's a preach.
Yeah,
Listen, that's a preach.
come on, give me an offer.
I have found my peace.
Yeah.
Listen, and it is unshakable peace. Let
Yeah.
me just put that out there.
Yeah.
Unshakable peace.
Yeah.
If I have learned one thing about this life is that it is what you make it.
Yeah.
You get what you put into it. And it keeps score. Life keeps score. So go out this weekend, do something positive for somebody else. But for me, I get quiet. I go read my book. I'm reading Aristotle right now.
Nice.
And I'm just like, listen, fall back. Ebony is about to fall back the hardest this summer and just protect our peace. The other piece of that is the news. So I have turned down the news. I won't say I've logged off. I won't say I've totally disconnected, but I've turned it down, meaning it's not the way I start my day anymore. I used to be the person that roll over, got to check my phone for updates, got to watch the news, put the news on. I usually don't watch news now until the afternoon, right? Any alerts like, World 3, I don't know, anything like that, I figure will come to my phone. If I'm required to move into action, that'll come to my phone. But other than that, take it slow. The halfway point for me too has made me think about where my goals are. Now, Debo, I know you don't do New Year's resolutions. You told me that, but you got to be gauging like life somehow, some way. So I made a post on LinkedIn this week. So if you're not following Outreach Community Health Centers on LinkedIn, you should do that. But I posted this on my personal page that I feel like we are at the halfway point, and this is where I check in to see where those goals for the year are. So my personal and professional goals are always in pursuit of better. I don't believe that you excel as a human being if you are in the same place that you were 5 years ago. So then the question becomes, what was that 5 years for? So I look at where do I want to be at the end of this year? How close am I to those goals? And what am I doing to protect my peace to get there? So I want to hear back from you, Milwaukee, this morning, 414-444-5250. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know how you're protecting your peace and what you're doing to kind of build that wellness into the things that you do each and every day. The reason I bring this up is that learning how to cope when life throws you all kinds of curveballs, has you juggling, has you stressed out, learning how to cope through that, paramount. To the moms, the dads, if you teach your children anything, I'm glad we're out here teaching business skills. I'm glad that we're out here teaching all of the things that will help us build wealth and build focus. But you got to teach your kids how to cope, because life will hit you with that 1-2 combo that will have you up against the wall. And if you haven't figured out positive ways to cope, you in for a world of hurt. So Outreach Community Health Centers has a program called Better Ways to Cope, which is connected with the Milwaukee Health Department, the Department of Health and Human Services. And it's a harm reduction, prevention, and treatment program, which means for those that cope with drugs, alcohol, there is a better way to move forward with that. So connect with us, figure out what you need to cope, how you can find those positive strategies. And if life is life and really, really hard for you and you're using drugs, substances to cope, there is a better way. So check us out. We are open Monday through Friday. Appointments available, 414-727-6320. With that though, let's get into this environment, because when I do chime into the news, it's some foolishness, right? When I do take the 10 minutes to log in every day, I get foolishness. So word on the street is our current Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, has brought Milwaukee into the national spotlight, highlighting our lead crisis. So apparently, there's a team of federal officials that are on the ground helping us with our lead crisis. That has been proven to be untrue, right? Because the facts are the facts. And no matter how you may want to spin it, the facts are the facts. So Milwaukee is still dealing with the lead crisis, especially in our schools. Outreach Community Health Centers is conducting well child checks. So if you do have a child that's in MPS, get them tested. Like, don't go through the summer guessing. Get them in, get them tested. Now, why is that important? Because that leads to how you think, that leads to how you cope. These things are like dominoes, so they line up. So some of the challenges we have in reasoning, some of the challenges we have in thought processes could just come from folks having lead poisoning, right? And it's not something we want to make light of. We don't want to pass it off as if it's not important. These are our babies. And I like to say on this show and just in life, these children will lead this city in 20 to 30 years. So I want my nursing home experience to be off the chain. I want it to be fun. I want it to be the sunset of my life. So I am invested for that purpose in our children, in our babies, and making sure that they are safe and sound. So Milwaukee Public Schools will be going through remediation, not only this month, but into next month and into the summer. But it all starts with parenting. So if you know your child is in a school that was built before 1970, it's real easy to go to ochc-milw.org/lead and get some resources and get scheduled for that program. So we got that. We got better ways to cope. The other piece that outreach is focused on is that harm reduction. So for those who have found the last 6 months have just been too much, right? May have picked up some terrible habits. And I'm going to say terrible because they wear your body down. They wear your mind down. Drug use is not good for us, right? So if we can all agree on that, you can decide today if today is the day you're going to make that change. So every Tuesday, Outreach has a harm reduction program that you can sign up for. So again, that number is 727-6320, area code 414. So stress, let's get back into it, y'all. This week has been a week. Can I just put that out there for my friends, my families, my cousins? This week has been a week. One of the things that I've been repeating to myself is that if you have triggers that are readily apparent, people will tap dance on those triggers right out. Let me tell you what I know for sure. Is that what Oprah says? Here's what I know for sure. Once people know they can try it, they're gonna try it morning, noon, and night. Right? So how do you deal with people who they try it? They try it. They try it. And we all know that you're trying it. How do we deal?
Well, now I'm to the point now that I kind of let stuff roll off my back, you know.
Indeed.
Because it used to be a point in time that I used to let it affect me, and then I would carry it throughout the day.
And that's why I got all this up in here.
Yeah,
I got all this up in here.
I'm walking around with a lot of pressure going throughout the day. It would cause you to react to certain situations that you wouldn't react normally to.
This is true.
So by me knowing that and I see how people operate, I counterpunch now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do discuss. Where's my pen? Yeah. I need some tools for my toolbox.
Counterpunch now.
What does that look like?
So now what I do is I take time to myself and look at the situation and then I analyze it. Is it really worth me digging into it? Some stuff it don't need a response.
Ooh. But how do you judge though? Okay, so real talk. Yeah. How do you judge between let bygones be bygones? This person clearly is not, or this situation. Let me not put it on a person. This situation, this environment does not call for me to even come off the throne, so to speak.
I had a situation earlier in the year that was kind of heavy, and it could have went one way, But I looked at the situation and I stood back and said, um, that we carry two pills in life. That we
Ooh,
carry.
wait, I need a pen. If you watching on YouTube, I gotta
You
get my pen
crazy.
because he about to preach it here.
Yeah,
Okay, we carry two pails.
yeah. We carry two pills in life, and that's one is water, one is gasoline,
Mm,
and you can
mm,
choose which one you want to walk out the
mm,
house with every
mm,
day.
mm,
And it used to be a point in time that I used to, carry gasoline all day.
mm.
There was a point in time that I was carrying both of them.
Ready to bring that heat?
Oh
Is
man,
that
listen,
ready
because
to light that fire?
wherever it was smoke and there was a, a inklet of fire,
Yeah,
if you put a little bit of
yeah,
gasoline on it, it's gonna spread and turn into something else.
yeah.
So it was a point in time that I was carrying two pills. I would have both of the
Mm-hmm.
options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, operating in life, I noticed that carrying those two pills, it can become heavy.
Ooh,
So
ooh.
now I choose to carry water with me.
Mm.
So with situations that I see getting heated, and or I see myself steering out of character, I go to that water pill.
That's
Yeah,
that's gonna be my mantra. Go to the
yeah,
water pail. Go
yeah,
to the water pail.
yeah.
Because I do feel like once is it reputation? Is that the word I'm looking for? Once you get a
Oh
reputation
yeah,
of
yeah.
always carrying
Always
the
blow.
gas,
Yeah, always
always
blowing up.
be it right,
Yeah,
you can't really come back from that.
yeah, and that's what I had to do because it actually took me years to actually clean up
Yeah.
that image because I had an image that was okay. Well, if you say something to him, he gonna explode,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
man, it's a fight. It's a whole
Yeah.
type of
Yeah. You're right.
man. I had a wick that was so short. You'll say something, spot.
Bow. Bow.
It.
Bow.
But now, having my kids, my son and my daughter and my grandson, you have to be an example to them
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. You
on how to
right.
handle situations and how to navigate through the jungle
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah.
And just looking at life and seeing some of the situations,
Yeah.
knowing that hey, if I carry this water pill, it's a lot of fires that I can put out. And then once you put that fire out, then you'll see what the real issue is.
Like, I feel like you need to be on a mountain with like smoke, like the mist, and then like the robe.
Yeah.
Bring pale water. And I be like,
please.
thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say, oh man, right
Yeah.
out?
Hey.
That's like that wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think you bring up a good point that every situation you find yourself in, you have the control
Yeah.
to decide which way you
Yeah.
want to go. So I truly appreciate that. I'm gonna be trying to walk around with my water pail, y'all.
Oh, you know
Sometimes I'll
what?
be a little empty.
So Ebony, this week, man, I've been on my redemption tour.
Oh,
Oh Lord.
oh,
Don't
No,
start that again.
no, seriously, I've been
talk
on
to
my
me about the
redemption tour.
redemption
So,
tour.
my redemption tour is, I've been redeemed.
Okay.
It was
And-
short lived.
Listen, I like to say on those days where people want to try, I am still searching for a church home.
Now,
I
now,
don't have
now,
a church home.
now, as the song go, try Jesus,
Yeah, please don't
try me because I fight,
Don't try
and I do.
me.
But I'm trying to, now, man, I'm looking at life differently.
Yeah.
There's certain ways that you can handle situations, and you don't have to always go to the, ready to fight moment. Though you
Right.
can,
Right.
put some water on the situation
And let it grow.
and let
That's
it
what I
grow.
saw. That's why
Yeah.
I was like, you need to be on the mountaintop because water makes it grow. It makes love and peace.
The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect that of the staff and management of this station.
I will say this: pursue peace, right?
Yeah.
Pursue peace. Pursue the things that are the betterment, and the quicker you can remove weeds out of your personal space, the
Yeah.
better your garden can grow. So I do agree with that. So yeah, we're decompressing, we're de-stressing, we're choosing our water pail. So the rest of this show will be talking about, the things that lead us to health and wellness. Because the other part is conflict, stress is not good for the body.
Yeah.
Like that's how people are laid out. That's how people are filling up our emergency rooms because we're holding this stuff and we're taking accountability where we don't need to. So as we close out Mental Health Awareness Month, we're just talking about the things that help us to be better mentally, to help us show up better for our communities and how to just let stuff go. So we ready for our first break? I mean, because we got into it quickly, and I like that. We're talking Mental Health Awareness Month. It's also High Blood Pressure Education Month, so I feel like those go together. Find the things that raise your blood pressure, remove those from your life. Find your water pail so you can be calm, meditate, all of that good stuff. So when we come back, we'll continue talking about Mental Health Awareness Month. You are listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. I'm Ebony SsALI. We will be right back. Not just a show. This is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. I'm Ebony SsALI. And like I said, we're talking Mental Health Awareness Month. I am so honored this morning to be able to continue this conversation. And y'all know I love credentials, right? Y'all know I love people who are in their lane, they're in their specialty, they are doing the things that are amazing and they've dedicated their lives to it. So this morning we have two guests. Our first one is Dr. Catherine Troncone. She is a clinical psychologist at the Medical College of Wisconsin. She serves as the director of Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health at the Northside Family Medicine Residency Program, teaching residents and seeing patients at the Outreach Community Health Centers. That's us, you guys. She attended the University of Notre Dame for her undergraduate degree and earned her doctorate from Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. Credentials, y'all. I'm telling you, credentials. She completed her further training through an internship at Henry Ford Health System in Detroit, started her career in Cincinnati prior to returning to her hometown, which is right here in Milwaukee, in 2022 to join the medical college. Dr. Troncone has prior experience working in school-based behavioral health, family medicine residencies, transplant teams, and private practice, but has found her home in family medicine residency. Family medicine allows her to work with patients across the lifespan. Her specialty is working with children and adolescents, which involves much more than the child alone, their families, school, communities, and healthcare teams. She is particularly passionate about engaging parents in treatment. Teaching behavioral health and family medicine allows this work to impact not only individual patients and families, but the larger communities as family physicians incorporate their knowledge of social and emotional health into day-to-day patient care. Welcome to Community Heartbeat, Dr. Troncone.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Yes. So we've been talking medical appointments, our family medicine residency program at Outreach Community Health Centers, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So that is your specialty. That's your lane. That's where, how did you get into that? Just kind of walk us first into how you found your passion in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was a kid, my mom was a nurse. She worked on the burn unit for years. And when I was a kid, I always thought, oh, I want to be a doctor. So I started out pre-med, and then I took a course in developmental psychology where you learn about the lifespan. And I thought, this is exactly what I want to do. And my mom said, don't you want to take care of patients with cancer, with other stuff? And I said, yes, that's exactly what I want to do, just in a different type of way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Love that. So as we talk about mental health awareness, we talk about some of the challenges. So your specialty is kind of in that children and adolescents. As kids are growing, and I too love developmental psychology, I approach it from the, how do we get people to buy what we want them to buy, right? So I took a little different approach, but that's where a lot of the challenges come in, right? Like in that, as you're growing, as you're developing, how do we maybe reduce some of the stigma that is around mental health, especially kind of in that age category?
Really, really great question. I see it happening in a couple of different ways. The first is actually through individual patients. Okay. I will, sometimes I'll get connected with a family through the residency clinic at Outreach. They'll be in seeing their family doctor for a regular well child check, and they'll bring up a concern and say, hey, Dr. Catherine, can you come down and talk with them? And that's a really, really nice introduction for a lot of families to have it in that integrated, embedded behavioral health model where the psychologist or the therapist is right down the hall from the doctors. So it's right there. It helps to normalize it a little bit. And then with that individual patient and family starting to learn, you can talk about some of the things that are going on.
Yeah, therapy is cool. Like, let me just say that. I mention that every single time we're on this program. Therapy is important. You should prioritize it, but it is cool. Like, we got to help reduce the stigma to that.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I'll hear from families that I work with that they mention it to one other person in their life. that they go to therapy, and it
Yep.
just starts to plant that seed that maybe it's an okay thing to do.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Even if nothing else, just to get a different perspective of what you may be feeling and just being able to talk through that. So I absolutely love that. As we're talking about kids, they're growing up, some of the unique challenges in Milwaukee. What role have you seen that like that early intervention can play? So if you see some challenges that people are having, getting in early, how does that help?
It is huge. It's everything. And we hear early intervention important in so many different areas, obviously in health and education with autism. We hear it in everything.
Yes.
With mental health, it's so critical. I treat a lot of kids who have been through trauma, and very often that's generational.
Yeah.
It's not just theirs, it's the families.
Yep.
And so if you're working with young children, I see kids in clinic as young as 2.
Okay.
If you're working with young children, you're automatically working with their parent or their grandparent or whoever that important adult is in their life. And that's how we can start to make some meaningful changes by changing some of those patterns early on.
So I'll go just a tinge off script because you brought up trauma. How common is trauma, kind of what you're seeing in clinical care?
Very. And I would say it's multifaceted. So we have some individuals coming in, they themselves have experienced something really hard, whether it's been abuse or neglect, or whether it's been a car accident. I mean, let's talk about traffic in Milwaukee and a lot of the problems. It is tremendous how many patients we see coming in with trauma following that. For others, though, it's not even something that has necessarily happened directly to them. Maybe it's happened in their school environment, maybe it's happened in their neighborhood, or maybe it's happened to their parents, and so their parents are on edge. Hypervigilance is usually that symptom that we describe in PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress
I'm writing that
disorder.
down. That's good stuff.
And so we see families just being more on edge, more uncertain, more unsure about the world around them and people around them. We lose trust.
And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, to kick off the show, is like finding that space where you have to decide personally, professionally, what to let go. Because if you absorb everything, that kind of turns into trauma. I was saying, like, on those stressful weeks, I feel it all in my neck, and it kind of plays itself out in the physical. So tell me, how do we make like meaningful impact? So if someone is on the fence with, I don't know if therapy is right for me, I don't know, I've heard so many things, I've watched TV, right? They think that that's how it comes about. How can we compel them to come in, so to speak?
I think as people talk with friends, family, coworkers, possibly sharing their own individual experience, if people are comfortable self-disclosing that, like, hey, I've been these, but more than just I've been and it worked for me. I've been, and these were some of my fears going in. This is what I was worried about. And this is maybe how therapy has not been what I've expected it to be, or not been what I worry it to be.
This is good stuff. So if you are you're making those health appointments, I've harped on you all, if you're listening, about every year getting that annual physical, getting the credit report, checking in, make an appointment to maybe come in and talk more about how you're working with your mental health. Like, add that to your toolkit. You can make an appointment 414-727-6320. I got to do it on the little keypad. But if you want to talk back to us this morning, 414-444-5250 is the number. If you've got a question for the doc, please feel free to give us a call. What changes would you like to see happen? So if you could wave a magic wand, is a thing I like to say, and have everything fall in line the way it should, what changes or improvements would you like to see in either the way we discuss mental health, the way we approach mental health, or how we put that as a part of being well?
I think 2 different ways in the way that we deliver mental health care. One, It would be neat over the next 5-10 years, more and more integrated behavioral health practices. Integrated behavioral health practices meaning that there's a psychologist working in the family medicine clinic, or there's a psychologist or another master's level therapist working in the hospital on different units. A lot of hospital systems are starting to go in this model, and it's really helpful. As part of patients' annual well check, they're usually asking some questions about anxiety and depression. Those questions aren't a checklist for your doctor. Those are for you to have that opening to talk about mental health. So I think the more we can be embedded in some of these clinics, I think the better. I think the other side of it, honestly, is reasonable expectations and supports for therapists. You know, at Outreach, we've got a lot of really wonderful services that help to address social needs of our patients. For a lot of therapists out there, they are therapist, social worker, teacher, parent, sister, you name it. And so I think, honestly, better and more reasonable supports for those really, really working on the front lines of this.
So let me ask, in terms of Outreach and the training of physicians, and we know that Outreach has been committed to these physicians, training them, getting them out into the community, providing that culturally competent care. You as faculty teaching these students, how important is it to add the mental health component into just regular care?
It's everything. It's everything. It's something that we do. So our residents, during their family medicine training, they spend 3 years with us. And during those 3 years, every 4 weeks, they're rotating to different specialties. 2 of those are dedicated specifically to behavioral health. And during that time, they rotate with me, they rotate with another psychologist, they get some exposure to psychiatry. They do a lot of it. I had a resident describe it really, really well in a meeting just the other day. Someone was asking, "Oh, Dr. Troncone, will you be observing us just with our behavioral health patients? Because I watch them in clinic." And they said, "No, she's going to observe you when you're seeing people for high blood pressure, when you're seeing people for diabetes, because psychology is
connected.
It's connected.
It's all connected. It really truly is. And I think when we, not only from an individual level, but as a community, as support, because like you said, we're moms, we're sisters, we are community members, we're leaders, we're all of that. Our mental health and wellness affects our environment, and the environment affects us. Right. So if you had to give like a percentage of how much time is dedicated with this program for new residents, how impactful is it? Like, how much education are they getting in that psychology piece?
It's a really great question, because technically with that, with those 2 required rotations in the curriculum, now you're having to do math.
I'm horrendous at math. I'm like,
it's funny because it's not a ton if you look just based on that number. It's 1/12 of their time. In addition to that, though, they do 3 months of community medicine. Community medicine is when they are out working in our community with patients. That's hugely behavioral health related. And honestly, everything they do. So it's funny to try to quantify it, because technically 1/12, in reality,
it's baked into everything.
60-70%.
But I, as a person who consumes medical care, as a person who is in the system, so to speak, in terms of, I go get my physicals, get checked in, it's important to me to know that the physicians that are there are also thinking about the psychological aspect. Like, it could be neck pain, but it could be because you are so stressed and high strung that it's causing physical manifestations. I love what you said about hypervigilance. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that's important with the work of our family doctors is they don't have a patient say, "Oh, I'm feeling depressed." Great. Why don't you go see behavioral health? It's so much more than that. They are trained to be able to help with some of those things. We know some patients, it's a lack of comfort or lack of trust with seeing psych. But they're going to talk to their family doctor. Others, it's access. It's taking time off of work to go to therapy. It's getting to appointments. And so the family doctors at Outreach are really, really well equipped to help with those things.
So you heard it here from Dr. Catherine Troncone that we've got you covered. So Outreach Community Health Centers, the medical or the family medicine residency program, phenomenal practitioners, phenomenal faculty, and really working with that holistic care. So if you are looking for a physician, you're looking for that care, you can make the appointment, 414-727-6320. Doc, you're in Monday through Friday. So people can come in, they can make that appointment with the residents, and then you can kind of tag team that care. It also makes me think about team-based care, right? So I think me growing up in the city having care, I always looked at my health care as like I've got one doctor and that's like my primary doctor. But this is really a team approach, right? The faculty are there kind of in what capacity? Let me have you share.
Yeah, great question. Our residency patients, and they see their own patients, and then we call it staffing or precepting, where they go and they talk to one of the attending physicians about what's going on with their patient, what they see, they make their assessment, they make their plan with the patient. So when you come to our clinic, you're actually getting two different perspectives and two sets of eyes on it. It's a really, really neat training model that's very common in virtually all residencies. But it's a great chance to get to work not just with your own family doctor, but also be supported by the rest of this team.
It's like a team. Listen, when I got the concept of team, I'm like, yes, because some issues you just need more than one pair of eyes. So I love that. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're a lot into the advocacy piece, advocating for mental health. If I said mental health advocacy, what does that mean to you personally?
It's a great question. And I think there are a lot of different avenues that different clinicians will go with this. Mine honestly comes back to individual patient care, to individuals that I work with, advocating on the one-on-one level with a lot of them for my patients, helping them to be able to engage in treatment. I may know a lot about behavior. They are the experts in themselves. They are the experts in their experience, in their community, and in their life. And so really being able to advocate for them by learning more about what they're facing and what they're experiencing. Advocacy with coworkers really means being respectful and thoughtful about how we talk about our patients who are struggling with different behavioral health needs, and being aware of that.
Yeah. So over the next 5 to 10 years, right? So again, it's that magic wand, right? That we all think about. What would you like to see from the profession, from the kind of growth of the way we think about mental health? What would you like to see in that field 5 to 10 years from now?
Great question. I think, really, really great question. One area that I definitely want to see is a push to even more early intervention. Again, we talked about it earlier, just how critical it is to reach kids when they're young. I do some parent therapy. It's called parent-child interaction therapy, and it's a really intensive treatment program. An old coworker of mine said, we should be teaching this in the hospital after people have kids. You learn how to swaddle. You learn how to change a diaper. You don't learn anything about behavior.
You don't. I'm like, they just give you a person, a human, and they're like, best wishes.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my work with children and adolescents has led me to do just some additional training with like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and other perinatal mood disorders, because again, so much of it impacts very, very early on. So I'd love to see a shift to even earlier intervention. I think more awareness among psychologists, other therapists, and other mental health professionals of really addressing those needs right away.
I mean, you just opened up a whole can. So when we start talking about, even as women are pregnant, stress, anxiety in the womb, right? The studies now are showing that has implications in birth. And then, the housing. And if you don't have transportation, it's like chronic stress, right? Chronic fatigue. And then that just kind of plays itself out. Are there any tools? And I know you can't diagnose over the air, but I feel we're kind of in a more high stress across the board, right? There are more concerns, there are more stressors. are there any tools you can give us, kind of quick tools that can help us just in day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. Two of them. One is parenting related.
Pen.
So
Okay.
this is for kids, and this is out of that parent-child interaction therapy that I described earlier. Spend 5 minutes a day playing with your kids, whether they're your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews. If you're a teacher, and you've got a kid who's really struggling, spend 5 minutes a day in one-on-one attention with them. No screens, no distractions. Focus on what they're doing right in those 5 minutes, as opposed to nitpicking what's going wrong. That 5 minutes can be really, really powerful. 5 minutes a day of we call it special playtime or special time. And it can make a really, really meaningful impact for a young child, for a teen. Think of trying to connect with your teenager is hard.
It is.
Very hard.
It really true. And I have a 20-year-old. So like I'm writing these notes. What I have found is I'm a person that goes to bed early. So like 9:30. Right, I've told you this. You call my phone and after 9:30, it's no good. But what I've noticed is that she'll come in that moment that's like right before I go to sleep. And what I've noticed is that's the time she knows mom's not on the screen, mom's winding down, and it's like that perfect time, right? So would you even say it's for the young person, it's for the teen, maybe even early adulthood?
Early adulthood, honestly, I do this with my husband, where we try to
true story.
try to spend 5 minutes truly focused on that other person, being intentional in the relationship. So that's one, that idea of special time.
Okay.
The other is
People have been through
a lot. People have been through a lot. Kids have been through a lot. Adults have been through a lot. We talked about trauma earlier and how it impacts people on a generational and family level. Sometimes our well-intentioned response to that can not end up helping. Sometimes we see that a child or an adult that we care about has been through so much. We want to jump in and fix it, right? We want to fix it. We want to make it easier. We want to make it better, take that pain away. And sometimes our attempt removes that person's autonomy to problem solve, to work on tolerating the frustration and the difficulty with it. Better sometimes to walk alongside somebody and be with them than to want to jump in and fix it.
That's just, listen, we gonna figure out how to message that. That's our message this week, and across all channels is figuring out that coping mechanism. And you can't fix it all the time for everyone. Ooh, I write that down. That's a good.
And you can be with them as they're figuring out how to do it.
You can. And sometimes that's all people need and don't know how to say, hey, I don't need your help this way. I need you to just sit with me. I think that's powerful. Just in friendships, in relationships, I think I've caught myself too saying, I don't even know what to say. And I'm a person that's like got words for days. I can talk on this show for 2 hours a day. But sometimes you just don't have the words, and you can say, I don't have any words, but I can be here. Yeah, that's huge. It's huge. So coping, you got one more tool in there? No. Those are two really good ones. Huge ones. Is there maybe a story or a moment in your career thus far which has said, this is why I do this? You kind of reflect and go, I call it like a proud mama moment. You work so hard. I'll give an example. In marketing, you work so hard. You're behind the scenes. You're focused on getting messaging out, helping others. And then sometimes you just stand back and go, I'm doing some good work here. Has there been a story or just a moment in your career where you said, this is good?
I'm glad you asked. Lots of them.
Okay.
Lots of them. I don't want to say every day, every week for sure. They're all patient related. And so I'm actually not going to share any story. And it's not because, obviously I'd never say somebody's name or their protected information and stuff like that. But I think it's important just for people out there who are thinking about coming to therapy to know, psychologists, therapists, we don't even share your story anonymously. We don't even talk about your struggles outside of it. So thank you for the question. And every week. And it's why I do what I do. But gonna keep that.
I love that confidentiality piece too, because I think you mentioned trust, and you mentioned just having that trust with any healthcare provider. So not only, if you're being treated, let's say for heart conditions, you know that your physician is not like on their social media, like, so I have this patient. I think even more so when you're talking about some of the deepest troubling things that can happen, some of the deepest challenges you can have, that's protected. And that's important. That's important in building trust. So when we come back from this break, we will continue talking with Dr. Catherine Troncone from the Family Medicine Residency Program at Outreach Community Health Centers. She is faculty with the residents, so she's training them to be better healthcare providers. You are listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers, not just a show, a movement. We will be right back. Welcome back to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, this is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. I am Ebony SsALI in the studio with Dr. Catherine Troncone. She is a faculty in our family medicine residency program, and leading the study for the residents so that they have that cultural competency care, but also have the mental health and wellness component baked into their healthcare training. So I absolutely love it. We've been talking mental health and why it's important to get connected, what that advocacy means. And since your specialty is children and adolescents, I know the children that are in my environment, screens, phones, even self-included. Let me not just my phone is there. How do we make more positive connections with screen time? Are there any trends that you've seen with screen time, and maybe one or two recommendations you might make?
Oh, this is my I could talk about this for 7 hours. This is one of my favorite topic areas. Because you say, are there any positive? Screens are not one of those things that it's all bad. It's all negative. There are a lot of things out there in our world where we can definitively say, don't do that.
Right,
it's going to be a problem.
It's all bad. Right.
But for some teens who may be more, isolated, some teens who maybe, fall into like certain categories, certain areas, that's how they connect with other people who are maybe experiencing some of the same struggles that they are. But the kind of limitless use of screens has gotten to be so concerning. I was at a retreat a couple weeks ago, and it was a group of about 100 adults and 30 teens.
Okay.
They asked everybody to check their cell phone when we walked in.
How did that go? I just got a little hot.
It's uncomfortable, the teens. So it was really interesting because the teens all said, okay, this is what we do. And they all checked their cell phone. They gave us an emergency number in case somebody needed to get us. And then all of the adults, every one of us was like, oh, I guess so. And it was interesting. I almost felt this like physical tether on my shoulder to my phone. And it was for 2 hours. Then we had a cell phone break and 2 more hours after that. It was really interesting seeing people try to be detached from it, but also to look at the conversation that then happened in the room. A lot of people didn't know each other. And so people walked in, they sat at a table, and they started to talk with one another.
Like the olden days.
Like the olden days. There's an article that I read. Oh gosh, I read it in college, and it was called Alone Together. And it was as people were first starting to use iPods, not iPads. iPods. And how people will be walking out in a neighborhood or walking across a college campus, looking down, not making eye contact anymore with each other. There's a lot of overuse. I think where I see it connected to mental health concerns a lot of the time are related to sleep. A lot of people using their phone. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm a proponent of, I've shared this on the show. I love technology. I've mentioned that I have a sleep time. I actually have a do not disturb sleep mode that comes on my phone at 10 p.m. My phone grays out, and it makes it boring, really, to be on it when it's all grayed out. And then it does not come back on until 5 a.m. Is that a good strategy to not only put maybe some guardrails in for your teens, for your children, but even as adults?
It's a great strategy for adults because first, it impacts us too. It impacts, it impacts our mental health. Think about like if there's a lot to be worried about right now. And if we're really worried and scared about things and we sit there reading about it and
doom scrolling.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't make anything different. It usually makes you feel worse and means that you're not sleeping either. So much of what's done by adults is then modeled for kids and for young children. A lot of teens will say like, well, why should I check my phone in at night if mom or dad has it in their room? So really, really, advice there would be really, really think about what we're modeling as the adult.
Look, I gotta write that down too. We consistently, because we are role models, whether we want to, I hear people say, oh, I'm not a role model, I'm just a human being. Whether we want to or not, we are modeling this behavior for the next generation. So I'm gonna just jot that down. The other piece is kind of monitoring, but modeling what you're absorbing. So I found myself, instead of some of the news sites, I love a good Pinterest. I love Garden and Homes magazine. I'm like, I love that color palette, right? Just trying to reshift into things that are positive as mental health continues to change, shift. What would maybe a suggestion be for some of those guardrails for your children? Is it putting the timers on the phone? Is it putting the parental controls on the phone? What are some of the things we can do as parents to make sure we're nurturing our babies?
Yeah. Timers and controls, kids will find their way around them.
Oh,
they will.
Man.
They'll find their way around them. At night, take the phone out of their room and keep it in yours. Keep it in a place where they can't get it. During the day, though, we don't want it to be this idea of like, you can't have it. I don't trust you. You can't do it. So instead, talk to your child and talk to your teen, whether it's on the group chat from their friends at school or it's they're scrolling through things. If they're scrolling through, makeup, outside stuff, sports, stuff that makes them feel good, talk to them. When you look at that stuff, how do you feel? Then when they look at, other images, other videos, maybe like the perfect life or the kid who's doing great, and then they start to feel bad about themselves, talk to your child about how they feel. So it's not as much about the lock and the control. It's about the conversation and the relationship with them.
I'm writing this down so I can be better.
Yeah, except at night. Pull the cord. Just take them away at night.
Yeah, no, and listen, they can have mine too. Take mine out of the bedroom too, or put those that sleep timer on. Anything else you want to share, just in terms of how we collectively rise together, how we collectively take a pause to care for our mental health and wellness, outside of making sure that that's connected to our appointments when we go in for our physical health, mental health being just as important.
Yeah, I think really thinking through what are the things in your life that help with two things. What makes you feel happy, your other positive emotions? What gives you meaning? Sometimes those are different from one another. Sometimes meaning, if you're feeling really, really down or depressed, sometimes meaning and purpose can be as simple as I got up, I got out of bed. And
you're right. Some days that's all I got.
Some days it's all you got. And for for some of us, it's like, okay, I am feeling terrible, but I made sure my kids got fed before they got on the school bus this morning. Those small things, if you do that, give yourself some credit for doing it. So it's not just about like engaging in the positive things or engaging in the meaningful things. It's about being intentional about those and being aware of when you're doing something good. Give yourself credit for it.
Listen, my note page is getting full in here because that's truly it. And I know we've talked at length on this show about the rat race and grinding and hustle culture and it being okay that, and I like to frame it in the law of averages, right? So if we live a life that's the law of averages, you are going to have some down days, just like you have some up days. Some days, all you can do is change your pajamas, brush your teeth, and eat some fruit snacks. Some days, that's all, give yourself grace, give yourself some credit for continuing forward. And there's a social media influencer, Michael Threets, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He's a librarian and he talks often about his struggles, but he's so positive that you sometimes think, oh, he's always happy. Give yourself that credit that some days are crummy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that, you can't go on to tomorrow, and tomorrow might be crummy too. I think we don't give ourselves enough. The whole week might be, but there's always bright after darkness, right?
There is. Yeah. I heard a beautiful reflection recently that was, no matter how dark things are, one candle can take over that darkness. One candle will always shine through it. And so you're exactly right. It doesn't mean tomorrow's going to be good or the next day is going to be good, but it means that pain does not have to last forever.
Indeed. Well, Dr. Catherine Charcone, I appreciate you for coming in today, sharing those services that are available at Outreach Community Health Centers. 414-727-6320 is how you can make an appointment with the residency program and know that behavioral health, that mental health, those services are baked into the care. So it's not like you have to choose. It's a team-based approach. So you have those options. So no excuses, make the appointment, get in, and know that you're in good hands. Thank you so much, Doc, for sharing with us today. We appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Milwaukee, as we continue to talk about the healthcare, the disparities, the things that are changing, talk back to me in terms of what you need to be your best self. And what those tools and what's in your toolbox to make yourself healthy and well. These are all things that, oh Lord, now listen, Milwaukee, mental health is real, but so is your physical health. Listen, I'm blessed this morning by the guests we get to have in the building. So you heard earlier, Dr. Catherine Troncone from MCW Outreach Community Health Center in the studio. We have the illustrious. He came in here with all his gear. Let me go find his hair. But on a boot. So let me get because I'm a yell this morning, y'all. I'm a fuss just a little bit, and that's gonna help me really. Who we got in the studio? Brother
Quaker.
brother Dr. Rem performance. Yeah, give it up. Dr. Quaker, good morning. Thank you for showing up. You listen.
That's low grade shade, but I'm happy to be here. I'm just touring Achilles. I can't move out the bed. I apologize for missing the last show.
Tell the people why you on the boot. Because we gonna discuss it.
No, you know what? This is just one of those. This was like a freak accident. Before I did it, doing some stuff, that I normally do, having fun, jumping around. This was like almost like a non-contact injury. I was surprised, but I just left PT.
Okay.
And it was like,
welcome.
You're strong, you're good. I'm not on any crutches or scooter. So
Lord,
I'm gonna be back to normal pretty soon. Give me a couple weeks.
Well, welcome to the show. We are talking mental health, and we could not build a show this month without talking to the legendary. So let me go and say living legend. Let me give yo shout out, yo credentials. You are just what I call a pillar of health in the community. So I know I give you a hard time. Yeah. That's just that divine love. I got to give you a little bit of hard time. But you are key in making sure the way we think, our mindset. So I want to jump right in.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me give you bio. Give you bio. Dr. Kwaku was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's a product of Milwaukee Public School System. Continued his education at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Come on here, credentials, ladies and gentlemen. Later went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, earned his Master of Science in Educational Psychology and Doctorate of Philosophy in Urban Education with an emphasis in school psychology. Completed his APA, American Psychological Association, accredited clinical internship at a juvenile correctional institution. Is a licensed psychologist in Wisconsin. Served as paraprofessional, special education teacher, school psychologist. He is that guy. Also a member of
Omega Psi Phi.
Okay. That's why he's cutting up. That's right. Well, welcome to Community Heartbeat. So very glad to have you live.
I listen to you on the 2nd and 4th, so it's an honor to be here.
Do I be all right?
Do I be all right? No, you be on point. Real talk. It's like I love listening. You have like such a diverse range of guests that come on with like just good knowledge for the community. And when you listen, obviously I'm a friend of WNOV. Yep. It's my family station. Yep. So you want to support, but when you listen and you get something, you like, oh, this is a good show, and you just proud to be affiliated.
Yes, come on. So my ladies of my sisters, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, go and join the live stream. Go and check them out. See them in here, just pare it down. I love it. So as somebody born and raised in Milwaukee, product of MPS, how do those early experiences shape where you are today? Because I know people get on and they some other stations is what I'm gonna say. Yeah. They dog MPS out, and I don't like it. No, I don't like it.
I tell everybody, like I grew up down the street on 7th and Milvina, 53206. Everybody be like, "Oh, I'm from 53206." I was like, 53206. I grew up. It was beautiful. It was love. It was family.
Yes.
And so where I was at Green Bay, I had teachers like Miss Jones who made sure that we knew the Black National Anthem. That was the first song that I learned. Then I had teachers, and she's still living. Give her flowers. Miss Elaine Allen. Mrs. Allen was like just the best teacher to have in the first grade. We had this beautiful, strong Black woman who believed in you.
Yes.
And literally, my grandmother's house was right across the street. So if I did something, she just opened up the window.
And just
that
look
was
at
that. So when you talk about growing up, like you had an environment where they cared about you, it wasn't about getting you in trouble. Just say, "Hey, this ain't how you raised. I know your people, and if you want to clown, let's see what they think, and we know you're gonna shape up." Then I went to Miss Broden, then I had Miss Love, I had Miss Barnett. So you think about all of these strong Black women that you had inside. They just gave you so much love, so much. It was a sense of community, and because our school was like 99.9% Black, it was like a beautiful world of ebony and jet. So it's like you grew up with this sense of love and pride. And I remember this is how like kind of bubbled we were. It was Black History Month, and they were showing some Black history films, and it was like when they had the water hoses and the dog was Black, and we were laughing. And they had to stop it. They was like, we thought it was a cartoon. You know how like you see like silly stuff. And they was like, no, this really happened. And you could hear the tenor of everybody in this building. I'm talking like kindergarten through 5th through 6th graders at the time change where we understood. Oh, our people went through this.
For real.
So having that kind of history put inside of us, where it was like, we don't want to have to teach you this. Like they said, we don't want to do, I won't even go into that.
No, we gotta have the real conversation.
And so like when they don't want to do, different levels of teaching and education in school, say we want to shield the people. I was like, no, people need to be taught, but they need to be taught at a properly developmental level. But with that being stated, it was like I got to see not only that beautiful part, but my dad worked at A.L. Smith. My mom worked at the phone company. So we would pick up my dad. You see all of these men. It was Black, white, Hispanic coming out. And that's when I saw a man with, this hard pill, that the hard hat, there's these big old dudes lifting these big old iron frames and whatnot like that. But you saw work value. You saw people, families picking them up. You saw these men in these nice cars and whatnot. So you understood, oh, this is what life is. So when you talk about like the 53206, the Milwaukee that grew me up, then I went to Samuel Morris and Rufus King, and those are kind of like magnet schools. So we got like the best of the best of treatments, but it wasn't the treatment. I think it was just the expectation. They told us we were gifted and talented.
That's a preach.
So that's how you
the
start
expectation.
Acting.
The expectation.
And it was like, we expect, like, I didn't even know college wasn't an option. I thought college just what happened after high school.
Come on.
So it was like, and I know it's many other very relevant options after high school besides college. Like you can do the military, you go into trades, and all of those are extremely respectable. But just as far as like that mindset, like how I was able to do it, I was like, Milwaukee raised me. Now you if you grow up, I was born in 72, so I'm and so I got to see, really 53206 evolve into the 50326 that we talk about. So I got to see A.L. Smith breakdown. I got to see the proliferation of gangs. Like I would catch the 62, and that was back in the days. Like if you weren't rocking like VL or Jimmy, your hat had to be Jermaine. Your hat was like this. Because if it was like this, if it was cocked,
I ain't gonna say I was trying to be down. I might have cocked mine a certain way. I ain't gonna say
that literature. You was in trouble. So like you got to see the change and everything. So you saw gang proliferation, then you saw drugs, and you saw all of this, then you saw people being taken off the block through a gunfire, through a prison and whatnot. So you got to see that change. But the 53206 that I got in the heart of it was one of a loving community, and I saw the destruction by deindustrialization, by the prison industrial complex. So when we talk about like what grew us up, Milwaukee was the best place for a Black person to live in the early 70s. So
I'm gonna even say the 80s. I'm an 80s baby, right? Just a couple of years younger. Got them grades, got them great. But you bring up, look, I had my little notes over here because I'm gonna know. You brought up the community pride, right? And there used to be a level of community pride that even having your neighbors watching out for you, that because listen, they were gonna get us. We cut up. It's like we gonna act up till we get to this part of the block, and then we go straighten up, and we go, but we cocked our hats to this side when we got just out of the purview.
You gonna try that as a person, but like to your point, the reason why the adults could get on us is because, like, if my grandmother went home, she said, go to Miss Lever's house, go to Miss Bivens' house, and they would feed us, they would take care of us. So when they chastised us, they had already given us love.
True story.
And I think sometimes older people, like, we do the chastising,
but we don't do
the love, and then we wonder why we don't get the respect. So it's like, you got to put in the effort and the work. But that's, again, your point to the community. I tell this story every chance I get, because Mr. Beckham, God rest his soul, was one of my favorite people in the world. When we would do the Beckham Stapleton Little League parade, we would start at Capitol Court and walk all the way down to Carver Park, which is now Beckham Park. And I remember we be in our baseball uniform, and everybody be lining
like
it was.
Pride,
It was like the community love you. They cheering, they popping you out. It was just like that. That was the community, that we had every weekend. You saw somebody having a cookout at the thing, and when you walk through the barbecue spot, they say, "Come on in," because they even had to know you. So yeah, Milwaukee is a beautiful place, and it has the seeds to be beautiful. And I think the powers that be understood that and started to systematically destruct those things.
So intentionality.
Well, it's
behind
a social engineering that goes. And I mean, it's like, is there accountability on our part? 100%. We do some things, but when other things are put in play, it puts more obstacles and hurdles than you should have to. And they set traps. Like, why do the rat go for the cheese?
That's like a whole series.
Is appealing,
right?
So it's that kind of a setup.
Listen, that was like,
I know
that was like
right
85 segments into one. But I mean, you bring up so many great points just in terms of the mental focus, because college was never an option in my family, and I was only the second person. My uncle was the first to go to actual college. He went on a basketball scholarship. So I was trying to hoop, because I'm like, you gotta pay for it, right? You gotta pay for it. And they were like, no, you're a scrub. I'm like, all right, so let me use my mind. I guess I gotta use my second best tool. But the community pride, the expectation that you are destined for greatness, you will also contribute back to this community. So don't get so high on your horse that you think that you somehow disconnected to this group. I just felt like was important. I went the suburban route. So I didn't have a Black teacher outside of my 4th and my 7th grade teacher were the only Black educators that I had in my life. So I kind of shout you out just for that, to be able to showcase to the youth, you can be educated, you can give back. And if I'm thinking about this in a holistic, I came up with the living singles, right? The Martins, where you had the Gramblings on the shirt, and it's like, what's Grambling? What's that, right? You had Queen Latifah with the Flavor magazine. What's an entrepreneur? How does she have all these people, And it was kind of, that was the seed now. So now when I see I'm not gonna put my brothers in that light, but I hear the mumble rap and I hear I'm like, what are we saying? How does this contribute?
But I mean, I think that goes back to, let's go back to, what we start talking about, like a golden age in time. I'm older, but when we were rapping, when we first came out, you had Run DMC. I'm Black and I'm proud, y'all. And that's a fact, y'all. And if you try to take what's mine, I take it back, y'all. But then you had Public Enemy, you had KRS-One, you had Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubians, X-Clan. We were wearing, the X with Malcolm X that came out. We was wearing X has the gold chain.
Listen, I rocked it in the suburban. They're like, what is that backpack? That's not Jan Sport.
You had colors.
Cross colors is back also. I would just
but I'm saying it was like that type of pride and self and love. It was about learning. I remember self-destruction, like when KRS-One and them put that out, it was just like, we can't self-destruct. We got to do this. But when they understood the power and the medium of that, and you would hear it on like different documentaries, they'd say the record companies understood how powerful that it was. And so when we talk about a social engineering, it moved from a liberation, powerful rap of self-empowerment, self-knowledge into self-destruction. And I credit NWA for being like the bridge from beautiful to ugly, because when they came out with F the Police, it was powerful, it was strong, it was in your face, and it was like, F the Police, they did that, but then it was like F the Bees and F these,
and you like, wait,
like, they slid this in because it was this powerful commentary, but it turned into something else. And then when people saw that it was provocative, that it sold, it was there, and then it just kept going more. And then when they got into the syrup, and once they started sipping that scissor, the rap went from
For me, I said I couldn't relate, and I talk often about this. I was in the Wu-Tang generation where you had to be saying something, right? Don't listen. Hi, Method Man.
When you listen to RZA and the GZA, even ODB, like when you listen to their documentaries, these guys. I got a book by the RZA called The Tao of Wu. So not the Tao Te Ching from Eastern philosophy, but they talked about like how they felt this. How did they come up with Wu-Tang? But when they really learned it, they was like, oh, we appreciate this style. Like it's a synergy between us. And that's that Asiatic black man that they talked about. But it was like, even though they came up in these gritty New York streets, the level of intelligence, but they would walk with the 5%ers so they could spit like a knowledge that was outside of this world. So understand the mathematics with that. It was like, So even like the Wu-Tang who had this hard exterior, they was like, hey, we opposed to the system, but we still about uplifting and the betterment of our system. You always hear the RZA talking about the 12 jewels. Right. I ain't gonna give it to everybody, but look up on that. Now do a Google search and you'll be blessed.
That was my time. That would listen. And I say I would not have passed anatomy and physiology. I would not have passed biology if it were not for the Wu-Tang Clan. And people laugh and they're like, ha ha. I'm like, okay, now listen to this song and tell me if you understand how the heart works. See, told you.
Brilliant.
Right? So the community pride piece, the music piece, then you get into the mindset of Olympic athletes. I'm going to connect the dot.
Okay.
I'm going to say Miss Shirley from the corner was one of our early coaches. I'm going to say the neighbor across the street who made sure that we got home. My parents are both remarried. So I got two sets of parents, all amazing. But there was a time in my life where I was a latchkey kid. I would have to come home by myself. And so I didn't know I was being watched by the neighborhood crew. They knew. Is it right? I didn't, right. So there was one and she's like, when you come in the house, pull me to the side. When you come into the house, you make sure that you close your door right away. I know that your mom won't be home for a little bit. You make sure you do that. That was a coach.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't understand how that was right. She was telling me to watch my back without telling me to watch my back.
The assistant coach. It wasn't the head coach, but the assistant coach, right?
Right. Don't slam the door. Don't sit in. And I just did a connection with my mom saying, I thought you were mean growing up. Don't slam the door. Don't sit on the porch. Don't have your comb hanging out your head. Don't. But now I get it. Yes. Your perception is everything. So I said that to say the neighborhood folks, the teacher who told you to pull your pants up and speak like you got some sense. All of those were coaches. Now you coach Olympic athletes from the mental standpoint. Yeah. How are those connected? How are the things you learn, the mantras you repeat, the way you handle yourself when you're stressed? How does that go from inner city education to the world stage in performance?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to like how sports saved my life. Like when you talk about other coaches and things of that nature, because I remember when my parents divorced, I had a coach by the name of Billy Prince. He's gone now, but his son Quinn Prince is doing great things.
Okay, wait, the Quinn Prince, 40. Shout out to Quinn.
So Billy Prince would come pick us all up. This was before the seatbelt day. So he'd pick us up in the coupe. It'd be like eight young men between 9 and 12, all in the car. But Billy would pick us up. He would take us to McDonald's afterwards when we won the championship. He took us to Great America, like with stuff out of his own pocket. But he wouldn't just teach us baseball. He taught us life lessons.
Come on.
And those life lessons is why I still want to speak on his name today with the great things that he embedded in us. I had another coach named Larry West. He's in Las Vegas now, but he was my wrestling coach at Rufus King. But he would come into my house when me and my mom was having troubles and talk to her and try to be a mediator. So it wasn't just a coach or education, but it was life. So when you have people like that, you learn, a coach doesn't just care about you for your sport. They care about you holistically. So now when I go into the mental health realm, I tell my athletes, say, listen, I want you to perform. I want you to have a gold medal, but I want you to have somebody to share that gold medal with. And I also want you to enjoy the journey. I don't want you to sacrifice where you lose everybody and then you get a gold medal and there's nobody there to enjoy what you or you sacrifice.
Y'all came
so
in
much
hot today.
So with the coaching aspect from the neighborhood, I always tell people there's no better medicine than love. And usually in psychology, that's a word that's kind of divorced from psychology because you're supposed to be objective and, you know, kind of separated to keep that level of separation. But I also think that's a Eurocentric view of it, because our community was always like, that's why you could have this lady and this man and this person care enough about you, say, don't close the door. Because they didn't just want you to be safe, but they want you to know why you're being safe. Because, hey, other people are looking, other people are doing this. This is not safe. You want to be careful. And I know the music about to come on. I know that right there.
I do not play by his breaks.
All of the lessons that you learn as a youth, it can't help but influence everything you do in life. So when I'm doing my psychology, even though Billy Prince and Larry West might not have been licensed psychologists, they were psychologists in their own manner. You know, my grandmother, I always had to say, Daisy May Cockerham, like, these are people who put this love in me and allowed me to do what I do here.
So I found out there's a connection to you and the family residency program. We're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. I'm in the studio with Dr. Kwaku, a mental health performance coach extraordinaire, brilliant, and product of MPS. So haters, fall back. You're listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. I'm EBONY SsALI. We will be right back. But I want to talk the other side of the coin, which is you are required to show up. You're required to perform, whatever that looks like. You got that, and you create that change for other people. What are maybe one or two things that you just know you need if you're going to excel at a certain level when it comes to mental toughness?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. I always call it my 3 Ds. You need dedication, you need discipline, and a desire. Because see, if you desire something, that means you want it. But if we just dream, it stays a dream. But if you dedicate it to it, you know, you say, okay, this is what I want. So now I'm doing all of the things that it takes for me to be good at it. And then discipline is the consistency to show up every day,
even when you don't want to.
And it's an old saying that says, talent, if you don't work hard, it says, well, I forgot. When
talent doesn't work. Yeah, I got you.
I can't believe I forgot that saying, but it's just like basically saying an average person can be the person who's much talented if they're willing to work.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to work hard, you'll be amazed at what you can do. But now, if you put a tremendous work ethic with a God-given talent and ability, this is where you start to go to different heights. Like, so let's take somebody like a Michael Jordan, who people say is the GOAT. This guy had a dedication, a work ethic that was second to none, but he was also blessed with like these large hands, this 48-inch vertical, this 6'6" frame, muscular frame. So when you put all of those things together, you said, oh, wow.
You can ascend. So talent beats hard work something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Right, I'm gonna Google it during the next break. But you talk about a Michael Jordan, and he needed the coaches. He needed the dare I say community to wrap their arms around him. Right.
Oh, yeah. And also he needed failure. I tell people we don't even, when we say failure, and I want to reframe that, it's like a disappointment. Because sometimes when you get a disappointment, if you have that mental fortitude and toughness, it actually fuels you and motivates you. So if I know somebody's going to be great, it's like, how do they meet with disappointment? Because if you're great, when you meet with disappointment, you're like, oh, you got me this time. You ain't gonna give me the next time. Like,
but I will be back.
Because that loss turns into a lesson, and that lesson becomes a blessing. So you become grateful for the disappointment, for the quote unquote at that time failure, because they said never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat.
Come on. Listen, we're gonna talk about your book in a bit. We go because you gotta have bottled all this up. A lot of times, what you mentioned, I have to tell myself, and I repeat to myself, okay, a champion does it always. Somebody who's good at it does it when it feels good. This is what I repeat to myself on those days where it's dark. I've shared on this show. It's hard for me to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning when it's dark and it's cold. But that's what separates a champion from somebody who just does it when it feels good. So that discipline, that desire, that's going to take you to the next level. Let's talk about the community, though, that supports a champion.
Yeah, well, a champion is made. You know, a lot of times people say leaders are born. I say, you can be born with some leadership qualities, but in order to be a great leader, you once had to be a great follower. But the reason why we know you got great leadership abilities is because you know who to follow. And so when you're looking at the community, it's a lot of people who you can follow. And I always think of it like, it's going to seem a little crazy because it's kind of like pop culture and whatnot. But when you think of, remember Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon? So you got a Show Enough and you got a Bruce Leroy. See, Show Enough got the spark of the glow that'll fool you. And those are the people who you don't want to follow in the community. They got some of the shine, some of the thing where you say, I want this because you haven't seen the real and it's enough to fool you. But when you see the Bruce Leroy, the person who has the full glow and has everything about it, that's how you know it. So when I look at our community,
changed my life.
I look at like who are the Bruce Leroy, so the community. So when I talked about like the Larry West, I talk about the Miss Allens, I talk about the Billy Princes of the world. Those become your community. But then I talk about I grew up on, all up and down Capitol. So I went to a barbershop called Ray's Barbershop. Man, I got so many lessons just sitting in there because that was before the days where you had appointments. So you come in, you might be in the barbershop 3 hours. And when you're young and I be in there by myself,
soaking up the game.
But I let people skip me. They skip me. I was like, no, I like this conversation because I was learning so much. So you have these different things. I grew up at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church right on 2464 West Atkinson. And so you have all of these older people that's giving you game, that's giving you knowledge, going, like I said, to the baseball park, going to church. It was all of these people in the community community that shows you small, little bit by little bit. Then you add, your neighborhood people, and it's so many wisdom and jewels where people say, it sounds cliche, but the axiom is true. It says, I stand tall because I stand on the shoulders of those before me.
I will say I was one of the kids where people are like, you can't have that girl around all these adults. She's dipping in business. But I would be like a fly on the wall, because you bring up a good point. Soaking up the game for me meant that if I can listen and hear your mistakes, then I make different mistakes. I don't make the same mistake, but keep bumping my head in the same place. So for me, that has value. Learning how other people think and how people reason has also been the thing. So I'm a talker, right? You could put me in a room. I talk to everybody, anybody. But when you listen, then you can hear like, okay, I don't know who would ever think like that, or I don't know why they would move that way, or those are people to stay away from. So even if I get back to the full analogy you gave with Bruce Leroy, phenomenal film. If you haven't seen The Last Dragon, you can kiss my Converse. Okay.
Don't kiss the Converse.
Kiss my Converse, right? You have visible examples of excellence. I feel like that's lacking now. We are the examples of excellence. In case you ain't knowing, you wasn't ready to step up. Right out, Devo. We are the examples of excellence. So it is now our time to kind of come to the carpet with that. I want to backpedal a bit though. When you mentioned mental toughness, you talked about Michael Jordan. So many times in our community, that's aspirational. So we see the football players, we see the rappers, and that's what we aspire to. We forgot to show the other hand, which is the struggles, the busing, my mother was like the first Black secretary in her area, right? So just to see her at work every day, she's got to put the shoulder pads on. She's got to put, because and could not let up. My mother did not let up until she retired. Like every single day.
Pressing every day.
Every day. Well, I don't feel the best, but I'm gonna put these pantyhose on. I'm gonna I don't feel my best, but I'm gonna put right. And just to see that for me, like you mentioned, growing up, that was my example. So now I'm like, are you sick? I gotta be damn near the wheelchair, right? To like not do what I'm supposed to do. Which we gonna talk about. That probably is not healthy either. That probably ain't healthy either. Get me together. But there is a level of mental toughness. How do we teach that to our babies?
Well, I mean, I think it's just like you said, it's through social learning. Some things are nature, some things are nurture, some things you just built with. Like some people are built different, and we got to understand that. But no matter who you are, through levels of nurturing, you can be taught and you can be improved on yourself. And so, like, to your point, there's a viral clip going around with Nuri Muhammad from the Nation of Islam.
Oh, he killed it. Look
and,
here.
And just so put an asterisk, Jermaine, I know you put the thing like the comments of the viewers right now. But he said something that was so powerful. He said, back in the day, to your point, as far as like with basketball, let's go in that way. He said you had 4 avenues that you could do. Nigga run, nigga jump, nigga sing, nigga die. He said if you wanted to run and jump, be an athlete, sing and dance and entertain, there was avenues for you to go. If you wanted to get killed because you was doing too much, or you were willing to kill your own people, either literally or mentally, then we'll let you go. And then you put that in conjunction with Jawanza Kenjufu, who said, why are our guys excelling so well? Well, if I practice basketball 8 hours a day, guess what? I'm gonna know how to dribble that ball. But if we put the same like effort into engineering, into architecture, into whatever other aspect we would want to go, if you want to say, man, I'm gonna be a carpenter for 8 hours a day, just think about how you could do that. If I want to work on cars for this long, it's about like what you put energy and effort on. And sometimes people say, oh, if I go as a rapper, if I go as a singer, if I go as an actor, these are ways we've seen that turn into that capitalism. So we've been moved systematically. And then, like you said, when I do go through architecture, engineering, now I'm the only one. It's nobody that looks like me. And so now I'm frustrated. And this goes to your bigger point. So now if I don't have the mental fortitude, when those people are trying to get me out, because it's not an easy way, I become easier to move off of my dream. So when you have a community that say, hey, we love you, we believe in you, we want you to do that, you have something to do. I know many a times when I was like in the libraries of UWM thinking like, why am I doing it? I kept thinking about like, I'm doing this for the young boy who's not born yet. And I want him to be able to hear somebody call a black man doctor, but be a real black man in the community. I never liked the title doctor, but then Ray Mendoza, he was like, man, we don't call you doctor like that. He said, you the doc, like Dr. Dre, Dr. J, like you want to. And when he said that, it was like a title that is not earned from the schools, but from the streets. But then I got the legitimate one from the school to say, hey, if you want to think that I ain't a real doctor, hey, check the paper.
Credentials.
But I got something that's bigger than the papers. But if you need these papers, I got that too. But it goes into that community love. And let me say this as we talk about the show notes. Even in the community, sometimes people who might go to the left, I have people who's like, hey, man, you can't do this. You can't do this. No, you different. You going to go here and do this. So even though they was doing stuff to the left, they was like, we going to protect you from this. We going to shield you from this a little bit. You got heart. You still with us, but you can't do this. We're not going to let you go this far because you got more to lose. So when we start talking about the community, and I tell parents this all the time, Jermaine Reed had brought in Freeway Rick Ross, the real Freeway Rick Ross. And he was like, a lot of times the social workers be like, stay away from this person. Don't do this. He said, y'all, that's stupid. He said, don't you know we got more influence than y'all? So if you show us love, we can communicate that back to them.
But look, don't get me started on Freeway Ricky Ross, because the setup and that even goes back to what you talked about.
Gary Webb exposed that so beautifully.
Because we don't own any planes. We don't own any planes that bring the destruction into our
community. Still celebrate Oliver North.
Listen, don't. And that for me is why education is so important, because I don't think there's any challenges that we've had that are not, we don't have a template, a frame, to build. So all this stuff, I look at the rappers now, I look at what hip hop used to be. I feel old because I'm like, y'all little whippersnappers, y'all listening to nonsense, it's rubbish. There's no message, there's no but I feel like our community, from film to video, like I say, I grew up in the 80s, but I think the realest moment, and when you just were talking, it hit me, is like Boys in the Hood. That was right around the time I was in high school, and it was like when they were all going to do some dirt, and Trey's like, let me out. That was like my life, right? So I had a little bit of both, right? So I had the straight school girl, and then I got into some things, and they like, this is not for you. Let's be real, schoolgirl. You go do what you need to do. You're gonna be the one that goes to college. You're gonna be the one that this ain't for you, right? You need that too. You need that too.
No, and I think that brings some of the mental fortitude. It's like some of the struggles that we go through are sort of good. And that's what we talk about, like why our children are so soft, because some of the things we went through, we said, I don't want my children to go through. Like we was poor. But being poor kind of help you say, hey, I want some of this. But now your children don't have that same struggle. So now you wonder why they enable, why they not working hard, why they not doing. And so whenever we talk about the generation that's coming up, we're really talking about ourselves, because we like, well, we the one who raised them. And so sometimes
we try to make it better.
And see, now that's the question. It's like, what is better and what's enabling? And it's the thing, because you say, I do want you to have some things I didn't have, but I also want you to have those same values. I still want you to have the same morals and ethics. And sometimes some of the struggle is what allows you to want to work hard. Like, I can't get these shoes right here that my friends got. So you know what? This is
only
the avenue for me to get this.
Only one without some Jordan.
So you start to think like, okay, I want to work hard to get this. But you had to work hard to get it. Now, if you just get it, you don't understand. Like, that ain't just given. Like, this just don't pop up.
I don't know. The kids nowadays, I look, we had the hunger, we had the grind, but to your point, it was probably from lack in what we thought we wanted and what we needed. I didn't realize the Malcolm X backpack would influence me more than the JanSport that everybody had. And I wanted the stickers too. I didn't want, I didn't understand the differences. But to your point, that made me.
And there's nothing wrong with nice things and having nice things for your things. So I want to make that very clear. But I also want us to say, let's not forget all of the other lessons that we had to get. And if we can't give it to them in one way, you got to make sure you compensate in another way. So to understand, these things don't just pop up under the tree. You know what? It's some work that goes with it.
You gonna get
my children didn't see me in school get my PhD, so they didn't see me studying at 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 in the morning. They just say, "Oh, Dad's a doctor." I was like, "No, let me show you my old notebooks. Look at all of this." So they get an idea. Oh, this came with work. This wasn't just given. So if they don't see it, you have to communicate it.
Give me one thing. Let me see. Let me check my time, because once Right Out start looking at me sideways, I know I gotta get my life. Okay, we got a little bit of time. What is one thing that you would share for the next generation to give them one tool in their toolbox to be mentally tough for the thing? Because we can't even fathom what's next for them, what's their challenge for them. We had the drugs, we had the divesting of our communities, we had all that. That was our challenge. What is the next generation going to get? We have no idea. But what are maybe 1 or 2 tools that they can use to overcome no matter what?
So there's a lady by the name of Angela Duckworth that defined a term called grit.
Mm-hmm.
And grit is when you can find passion and perseverance. So you say, how do you become mentally tough? I'm always saying, is this a hill I'm willing to die on? Am I willing to die for this? If I'm not willing to die for it, it doesn't probably have my passion.
Right.
So what I tell everybody, where they say kind of be in your lane, find your lane, find what motivates you, what wakes you up. In Japan culture, they have something called the ikigai. And when they talk about work, they said you have to fulfill 4 commitments. What is something that I love to do? Something I can get paid for, something that the community needs. And when you start to think about these things, you say, oh, if I can get something that I love, something that the world needs, something that I can get paid to do, you say, oh, these things are beautiful. And that gives you that grit because you say, I'm willing to take this to the end. So I tell people, find something that you love, that our community needs, and then do it with all your heart.
And let it be positive. Let me just throw that positivity, right? Because the community needs some things. But
hey, even like you look at the Bumpy Johnsons of the world and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Even if you go to the left, you say, okay, if I start off to the left, I ain't got to stay to the left. How do I flip that and then come back over? Because we all been to the left side, but eventually say, how do I bring this where it's right? How do I clean this money? That's the whole thing. If you make dirty money, you eventually want to find how to wash it so the people before you ain't got to do that. They can live. It's the ghost.
You can hear our second show, which is called How to Hustle Clean. No, I appreciate you, Dr. Kwaku. You are that dude. If you haven't met him, connected with him, do it. He's on all the social platforms. Wisdom and knowledge are going to come through. So follow, listen. I appreciate you taking me up. Look, we might have to start another show because we got too much to talk about. I appreciate you. Milwaukee, you are listening to Community Heartbeat presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show. This is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. I will see you in 2 weeks. I am Ebony SsALI. Have a great weekend.